All right. Hello, Amy Sandich. Okay, so I'm Corey Abraham, and you can't see my face, but like I said, you can just imagine. I am going to talk to you guys today, a couple of announcements, and I'm going to talk to you guys about your story, telling your story, how we need to be master storytellers, not just breadcrumbing, but basically how you're going to approach people about it. So that is what you have to look forward to. Challenge packs, as you guys know, the 28th of this month, they're either going up or we're going to lose 3 Success Club points or possibly both of those things. So I don't know if it's one or the other or both. We keep asking. We have not gotten answers just yet, so we are waiting to find out. But it will likely be an increase in price and drop to just 2 points for Success Club. I'm hoping that we at least get to keep 3 points for Success Club, even though the value would be so much more than $199. So anyway, either way, we will find that out soon, but make sure you're capitalizing now on that and really taking advantage of it for Team Cup. Just a cute little pictures. That's Denise holding up her water or whatever. Anyway, okay, so that's the big announcement. Team Cup, as you guys know, is on. So it started on the 1st, so make sure you are doing the work for that, for your team and hitting Success Club, and to do that, especially leveraging that All Access Challenge Pack. Okay, so you guys, if you're just jumping on, mute your line. I'm going to go ahead and jump in so I don't keep you guys long tonight, because I know it's a busy night and it's Monday and all that good stuff. And I know you probably have things you'd rather do than sit on a call with me. Or maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, okay, so what is your story? That's what we are going to discuss. And before I can tell you how to talk to people about your business and your products and your services, all of that, we first have to make sure you know how to talk about yourself. And most of us do not. So it's a skill that's learned. The better you are at telling your story, the more successful you are going to be. And it's important to know how to craft it and how to revise it, and also how to edit it for your team members, because you are going to, once you have team members, which even if you have one team member, you are going to be helping them and teaching them. So you want to learn how to edit that team member story, those team member stories as well. And you are going to want to you're going to always have to show what's in it for them. And you can write that as an acronym, like WIIFT. So you'll see that a lot. WIIFT, that's what's in it for them. You always want to lead with that. So that's one important point. But you want to also have a library that's just ever growing, that you are collecting stories that you're collecting for that library. So maybe it's a teacher on our team who's been successful. Melanie Metro, for instance, not on our team, but she's a former teacher who has been top coach, 3 years in a row. Lindsay Matway, former bartender. So anytime you hear a story, I'm a former attorney. There are others on our team who are former attorneys. There are CPAs, all of those. Anytime you hear a story, keep a list of those stories. Write that person's name down. Write the relevant information about that person's story, where they were, where they are now, all of those things. And you're going to start collecting those. So when I talk to a CPA, I might say, well, there's a girl on my team who's been really successful named Jessie, who is a former CPA, and this is what drew her to the business, or whatever. So you basically are just relating those stories to the people you're talking with. So anyway, when we share about Beachbody, we talk about our respective stories. So there are stories about how our products are different, why they're different. We can talk about awards or rankings and things like that too. But if you're telling your stories right, all of that stuff is undisputable fact. So you don't want to tell stories full of BS. It's really important that you're not embellishing. If you do that, you're either not well enough informed about Beachbody, or you're with the wrong company. So make sure that you're not lying, you're not making things up, you're not embellishing, you're being authentic and telling the truth. So that's important. But while facts are important, they're not enough by a long shot. You guys have all heard facts tell, stories sell, and that's so true. Humans act on emotion. So any psychology journal is going to confirm that humans are not rational human beings. They're not rational, but they are rationalizing. So we decide that we want to buy something or want to do something, and then we go for reasons to decide why that's a good idea. So that's what, I mean, in every area of your life, if you're being honest with yourself, you can probably figure that out. Like the shoes that you really want. You rationalize why you really need to buy those shoes. I mean, really, you can do that with anything. But when we decide to start a business, if we're really attracted to it, then we go for reasons, we look for reasons why it's a good idea. So it really is all about the story. We want people to relate to the stories. And basically, we're paid storytellers, right? The better we get, the more successful we're going to be. So a really compelling story is what's going to allow you to draw the people in emotionally. You capture their attention with why you wanted to start a business of your own, what you've done with it or are going to do with it, and how someone like them can do something like this. And that creates an emotional connection. So a well-crafted story is just fact that's wrapped in a lot of emotion. But let me explain this little difference. A lot of coaches call their story their why, and they're not the same thing at all. So your why is your reason for doing the business. You already know that your why has to be big enough and important enough to get you to consistently build, even when you're tired, even when you're discouraged, even when you're super busy, when your life gets in the way. Like, that's your why. That's what motivates you, what gets you up in the morning. Your why is not your story. It's part of your story. But as you develop or revise your why and rewrite your story, just understand that they're different things. So these are the elements. Basically, it's a formula, and I want you to write this down. So if you have a pen, pencil, paper, whatever, laptop, write this down. It's formulaic. So nail down the formula, and you're able to not only craft your own story, but you're able to teach your team how to do it. And so that's just going to be really important. So number one, who you are and where you've been. Write that down. Who you are and where you've been. Number two, what's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more. We're all coaches because we're looking for something more. There's something that happened in our life that's caused us to look for something more. That's why you start coaching. The third one is how you heard about Beachbody and why you had to be part of it. And the fourth thing is what it's doing for you or going to do for you. And I was going to make slides for you guys, and that just did not happen because kids, hashtag kids, because my kids were crazy today and I didn't have a sitter. So anyway.
Hey, Corey, will you repeat?
Yeah, which one?
I'm so sorry. Will you repeat numbers 3 and 4?
Yes. 3 is how you heard about Beachbody and why you had to be part of it. And 4, I just typed in the chat what it's going to do for you or is doing for you.
Thank you.
No problem. So these short stories are very short. So write that down too, short, and underline it and circle it and put a square around it. Short. It's very important that you keep them short. We're talking 45 seconds to a minute. These are the stories you're going to share with people, like when you do voice messages, when you are talking one-on-one. Like, this is really, really super important. You don't give too much information. You keep them short. Truly. So once you think you've nailed it, time yourself. There are a lot of people who walk around telling, quote unquote short stories, been droning on them for 2 or more minutes. I'm terrible about it. I can be super verbose, but this particular one needs to be really short. So remember that the person you're talking to about Beachbody is more important than you are. Okay? That's really, really important. They're more important than you. And you tell your compelling story and then get to that person and that person's questions. Of course, you can elaborate on certain parts of your experiences later on in the discussion if you want to answer questions or prove a point. But your story needs to be really quick, really compelling, and no redundant or superfluous information. So here's an example of mine. When I started my business, here's my short story, okay? And I've broken it into the corresponding, those 4 elements I just told you. Okay, so number 1, which is who you are and where you've been. I say, I've been tied to the billable hour and at the beck and call of my clients my entire career, mostly as a lawyer and in corporate America. Okay, that's number 1 for me. Yours is going to look slightly different than that, but you get the idea. Number 2, what's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more. But as a mom, I was a new mom, and now I'm a mom of 2 little ones. I want more flexibility to own my own schedule, to make more money, and to get further ahead. It's a tall order for a working mom, but I found a way to have it. Okay, that's my number 2. My number 3, how I heard about the company and why I had to be a part of it. So my friend from grad school's wife was doing Beachbody. He reached out to me when he found out I wanted to stay home with my kid and leave the law profession. I immediately recognized this was a way to build my exit strategy from corporate America to the lifestyle I really want. Okay, so short and sweet. The 4th thing, what is it doing for me or going to do for me? I'm excited to grow a team and a customer base around my kids, around all the other things on my plate to create the lifestyle I really want. And I'm excited to help others have more options too. Okay, short and simple. And then this is what it sounds like when it all flows together. I was tied to the billable hour and the beck and call of my clients and the partners in my firm when I was an associate, my entire career as a lawyer. But now as a mom of 2 littles and another on the way, I want much more flexibility to own my own schedule and to make more money to get further ahead. Hello, college funds for 3. It's a tall order for a working mom, but I found a way to have it. A friend from grad school's wife was coaching and presented the opportunity to me when she found out I didn't want to go back to work as a lawyer full-time once I had my first baby. I immediately recognized this was a way to build my exit strategy from corporate America. Been so excited that I could build a team and customer base around my kids and all the other things on my plate to create a lifestyle I really want. What really excites me is the ability to help others have more options too. Okay, so that's what it sounds like. That's the little short blurb, 45 seconds to a minute. And I have time that one actually. It's really short. But what have I done in that story? So I've drawn them into my life, where I was, what I was feeling, what I wanted, also where this was going to take me, right? Were you drawn in? I don't know. Was there anything in that story you could relate to? More than likely. Not all of it, of course, but I bet there was some aspect of that story that you could relate to. Could I have said a lot more? Absolutely. You guys have heard me speak. Absolutely, I could have said a lot more. But at 49 seconds, it gives a really strong foundation for our discussion. If the person I'm talking to is a mom or a career person or former career person who has dealt with that elusive life balance that we seek, or somebody who wants to get further ahead or who knows people like that, I'll make enough of a connection with that person to get them to sit up and actively listen. So that's the goal. Now, it's just as important to think about what you should leave out. So what you leave out of your story is important too. You've got to leave that stuff on the cutting room floor. So journalists will talk about, if you have written 100 words, but you can say it in 50, then say it in 50. You cut it. It's the same thing with our stories. Cut out all the extra fluff. And you have to be ruthless because this is the deal. Like, our stories are who we are, right? So we're very attached to our stories. So you're going to have your upline take a stab at it, me, a friend, whatever. Somebody who's not as connected to you, who can give it an objective edit, even your husband or your best friend or your mom, somebody like that, but they can edit it out or edit it and cut out the parts that are superfluous. Then also suggesting behavior that you don't want them to do. That's something you want to leave out. So this happens a lot. It makes me cringe, but you don't want to start your story with like, I researched everything for 2 years before I made a decision. Because you're shooting yourself in the ever-loving foot, guys. Like, really? Do you want people to research it for 2 years? No, heck no, right? Do you want them to review what you send them in an information email and get on a call and make a decision? Absolutely. Like, that's the direction we want to go. Don't put an idea in their head that they need to research this for 2 years or whatever. So what about this one? Like, I used the products for 2 years before I became a coach. No. Cut that out of your story right now. You don't want to do that either. I mean, oh my gosh, it makes me want to scream, right? If you were a product user first, if you use the programs first, or use Shakeology first, I'm not telling you to lie about it. Don't lie about it. I'm just telling you not to mention that up front. So you don't want to plant any seed that they should use the products, that they should have to before starting their business, right? Like sometimes you're talking to people who are already your customers, and that's a different conversation. But for people who are you're talking to just about the business opportunity, you do not want to approach them in that way. You can sing the praises of the products of Shakeology, of the programs, without implying that somebody should simply be a product or service user before building the business. So like there are a lot of people on our team, well, not so many on our team, but there are just like tons of people in the company who rely on the clinical studies, the draw dropping before and afters, success stories, the 30-day money-back guarantee, all of those things without using the products first. If the fact that you fell in love with the products first was really instrumental in you joining the business, include something like, I love the idea of being able to have the best nutrition in my body or whatever, the idea of being in the best shape of my life and getting paid for it. So if you're Jackie Gist and you've already lost 105 pounds or whatever, she hadn't lost that much when she started coaching, but she lost quite a bit. I want to say 40 or something, let's say. So if you have that, then you can always throw that in. Like, I love the idea of being able to be in really great shape and getting paid for it, or have the best nutrition and getting paid for it. So something like that. But it is not necessary to lead with something like that. Okay? So nod your head if you understand that. That's important. Okay, and then I'm a huge believer that stories should not be included, that product stories.
I thought by plugging them into 2 different plugs.
You guys mute your lines. But product stories should not be included in our short story, even if you're brand new or an accomplished veteran. So if you include that, it's going to suggest to your prospects or your new business builders that they have to have their own personal story before starting to share about the business. And that's why the story I used didn't include one. I mean, I didn't have one anyway. When I started coaching, I was brand new to Beachbody. But a lot of people start their businesses before their challenge pack arrives. And that's what we want our coaches to feel comfortable doing. So if you don't have that, of course you can work on, if you don't have your kit yet, you can work on that. But that's not something that should keep you from sharing. And then you want an ending that does not contain, or you should include an ending that contains quantifiables. So your story should always build to a compelling climax. When you're brand new, your story builds to what you think the business will do for you. As your business grows, you're able to share what I like to call quantifiables. So it's sort of a made-up word, right? But I think quantifiable is an adjective, it is for sure. But I've turned it into a noun. And it describes perfectly what should be at the end of your short story. So those are the numbers that show growth and what the business is doing for you. And I'm not referring to the awesome people we get to work with, because that's huge, right? That's massive. The active social life that it's given you, how the business has taught you to break out of your comfort zone. That's all fabulous stuff. And you might decide to include some of that in your 45-second to a minute presentation. But the biggest questions people have when considering Beachbody or a business like ours is, does this business model actually work? I think it's Brittany. Brittany, mute your line, babe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. Brush your teeth, kids. Okay. So that's all great. And you might decide to include it. But it really boils down to, does this business model actually work, and can I do it too? That's what the people are worried about. That's what your prospects are worried about. So while people may join you for the warm and fuzzy side benefits, which have been amazing, and you might breadcrumb along the way, like on your social media, that's great stuff to sort of breadcrumb. But in your short 45 to 1 minute blurb, 45 minutes to 1 minute blurb, you want to do the whole Jerry Maguire show me the money thing, right? So you have to talk about the quantifiables. So I would never, ever disclose the actual dollar amount of your earnings. I think it's tacky, and it's not something I like. And there are actually a lot of things in our legal disclaimers and whatnot that we have to include anyway, but it's against the PMP to like post a picture of your check or anything like that. But so you can paint the picture of how you're growing and what you're earning through illustrating and explaining what the paycheck will do for you with that within a certain time frame. So examples are, I'm able to cover my kids' activities. I'm able to send my kids to summer camp, or how it stacks up to your former job. I've been in business a year and I'm already earning half of what I earned in my full-time job before as a teacher or whatever, something like that. After my first month in business, I was able to add some very compelling quantifiables. After just a month in, I have a group of happy customers who are getting in the best shape. In the best shape. I have notes that I just dropped. I know, I think I don't talk from notes, but I do usually. Okay, after a month in the business, I have a group of super happy customers who are transforming their lives, who are losing weight. I earned my investment back and I paid our electric bill. That's something you could say after like your first month in business, right? Again, we don't want to embellish. We don't ever want to lie. We want to tell the truth, but you can do it in those terms. I got my investment back and then, whatever else you paid for. After my second month, my story would build to a little bit of a crescendo. In my first month, I was profitable and paid my electric bill. Now, after just 2 months working my business around my very busy life, I've grown a team of 6 people all over Texas and California. I have happy customers in 4 states. I've earned bonuses, I've earned 2 promotions, and I just paid, whatever other bill. Now, those are quantifiables that actually get people's attention. They can see the growth. If you donate time or money to charitable causes because of your business, include that stuff too. Because I was able to quit my day job, I'm now able to volunteer a few hours a week at a hospital, or I'm able to support an organization that empowers marginalized women in third world countries. But even if philanthropy is your primary reason for building, you should still include monetary quantifiables because most people really want to hear that. So definitely include that. But your story can be a really great launching point for further discussion. So the last part might be, I'm able to pay all of our household bills with my check, which gives us more money for our vacation fund. And then imagine how you could turn that conversation to the other person by saying something like, if you had extra money coming in to cover living expenses, what would you love to be able to do? So that's just a natural progression that you would have. So your story evolves, right? Because your business grows, your story is constantly evolving. So I want you to take a few minutes each month and sort of review your story after you look at your earnings for that month. And then after you have more and more conversations, get more comfortable talking about your business, you'll have greater insights into the parts that are really compelling and the parts that are not so compelling. Because like I said before, we are all tied to our stories, but other people, we need an objective opinion. Other people are not so tied to it. And some of it is just honestly less compelling than other parts. So get a good objective opinion and just present the parts that are the most compelling. You'll also find that when you get more comfortable and you start experiencing more success, you'll be willing to be even more authentic with your story. So I've seen a lot of times that the story is sort of meh at first, it's like, whatever. But once somebody really digs in and tells their story from the real story, there's just a lot of power in the truth. So when you reveal your true story, you just attract more and more people and you grow faster and faster because people are drawn to authenticity. So don't be afraid to share your real story even before it's comfortable to do so. And so there's a girl named Laura. I want to tell you a little bit about her story and her story evolution. So when she started her business, this was the little blurb. So girl works in politics for a decade. She decides to have a baby, shifts to being a stay-at-home mom. And she gets presented this Beachbody opportunity, realizes it's incredible. She jumps in, she does well. She's excited that her husband, who loves his job, will be able to stay with it as long as he wants and not have to chase a paycheck as their dreams grow. Not bad, but it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It doesn't make you like want to go, oh, I want to do that too. I'm totally putting people to sleep here. But but you it's kind of weak sauce, right? It's not like, oh, I want to do that business too because of that story. It's just kind of whatever. But so there's a story that's underneath that's deeper. And it's interesting because Laura wasn't sharing that story, but then she got really real. She said that now when she says it, it's like this. When I share my story, it starts with a decade in politics, switching gears to a stay-at-home mom, to then being 4 months pregnant with our second child when my husband had a major career upheaval. She is the product of 2 bankers and wasn't bringing in an income, and she was terrified. In the 4 months, her husband spent thoroughly weighing his options and searching for the best and happiest fit for him. They depleted every penny of their emergency fund. They probably wouldn't have given the Beachbody opportunity as much consideration as they did when it was presented, except that they had just gone through this incredibly scary year and were still enduring the very slow process of building that emergency savings, with now two mouths to feed and a new job that initially paid her husband considerably less than he had previously been making. But seeing how happy he was and how appreciated he was, and as a result, how happy they all were, she didn't want him to be forced to leave a job that was so rewarding just to chase a paycheck. This business was the opportunity to help them build back the safety net and handle the surprise expenses that arose. Now they've set a goal to match her husband's income, which is substantially more than the salary he left, which he is so excited about. And in the process, they'll build their savings to greater than it was when they needed it so badly just a couple of years ago. So they have security, which is invaluable. So she's much more connected to that second story. And she can tell people can tell rather that she is, much more engaged as well. And so it just makes it a lot more fun when you tell your authentic story. But that's a contributing factor always to your accelerated growth. So you want to be as real as possible always. But then, okay, let's say you have a slow start. Some of you on the call have had a slow start and you're like, well, I don't have anything to say about that. So what you would say is something like this. Again, tell the truth, but maybe this is your truth. For the last year, I've loved the wholesale discount, the home-based business tax deductions, but I've treated this like a hobby. I'm surrounded by success stories on my team of what can happen when you treat this like a business, and I'm ready to run. I'm looking for people to run with me. So that's just how you would sort of approach that, or something like this. When I started, I really got in my own way. I wasn't coachable, and I let fear get the best of me. I didn't know what people would think of me if I shared my journey. But I'm surrounded by success stories of what can happen when you're coachable and follow the simple, duplicable business. And I'm not going to let fear keep me from reaching my goals. So something like that. So that's how you would approach that if you come out of the gate pretty slowly. And then you want to adapt your story for your audience. So as you get more comfortable with your story, you'll be able to adapt it based on what you think will best connect you to each person. So if I'm talking to a stay-at-home mom who hasn't been in the workforce for years, I'm going to downplay my legal career and focus more on being a mom who wants to have it all, right? Like, she's not going to relate to me being a lawyer or any of that stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with her. So you want to pull out the parts that relate to the person you're talking to. So if I'm talking to somebody without kids or has no desire to have kids, I'm going to briefly touch on the fact that I'm a mom to illustrate that I have no free time. But then I'm not going to focus on the emotional pull to have more flexibility for my kids. Okay? So you always want to think about the other person and what's in it for them. The WIIFT, what's in it for them. I don't need to spend a lot of time talking about my legal career or what it's like to be a mom of 3 kids or whatever if the other person doesn't share that. So, and then, like I said before, build your story library. Your prospects are going to wonder if they can do this. That's going to be their number one question in their minds. Can I do this? So the best way to give them confidence is to show them that someone just like them is doing it. You won't always be the person who's just like them, right? That's impossible. So the best way really to do that is I implore you to get really disciplined at collecting stories. So write down, like, anytime you hear men, women, couples, different ages, a whole spectrum of backgrounds, like a stay-at-home mom, a professional with a full-time job, a working mom, a single mom, a lawyer, a real estate professional, a financial pro, a flight attendant, CPA, social worker, teacher, student, occupational therapist, just any and every occupation. Create a list and write that down. And you also want like a couple building together, a story of a couple building together. A man, because our business is mostly woman focused. So have a man who's successful. Someone who had a first or second month success story that shows that it's quick return of investment, right? So someone who quickly got their money back. That should be one of your stories. You'll be able to share those stories in conversations with your own prospects and also in 3-way calls. And I'll talk about that in a whole nother call, but that's something that I'd like for us to get more into at a later date. But really the best tool to answer objections is really success stories. So you want to talk about people who relate to your prospects. And I just really encourage you all to create a list of those people and create a culture of sharing success stories so we can share with each other. You guys know that I'm a lawyer. You know some of us, but really just share that within our teams so we can start collecting those stories. Okay, so when you first launch your business, you may not have a personal product story like me, like I didn't have one, but that's not uncommon necessarily. So when you're doing that, you can reach out and share before you ever even get your challenge pack, or before your prospect ever gets their challenge pack. When they are new and haven't used it yet, they'll just say something like, I can't wait for my challenge pack to get here. I was so blown away by the clinical studies or by the before and afters or by the testimonials, whatever it is, that I didn't want to wait to start to start building a business of my own. So once you've used them, then you will have that story. But until then, you use those stories and talk about like the success stories that you've already collected or that your team has collected. So again, facts tell, stories sell. And the sooner you become really good at crafting, editing, and collecting stories, the better you're going to be at this gig. Excuse me. So constantly feed yourself with stories and create that list that you will have to share with prospects. Okay, now I want to, oh shoot. Hold on. Where did I put my notes? Okay, so I want you to lead with what's in it for them. Like I said, WIIFT. So many of us business builders, including me when I started, I began conversations with prospects by launching right into what I'm doing with Beachbody, and then facts, figures, virtues of the company, like why it was so great. But I learned very quickly that that's not the best way. I mean, you can ask Jody Dacus. I sent her like a 5-paragraph email about why she should join me. I think it had transitions and like an opening and closing paragraph. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it was ridiculous. So you know what? That did not compel her somehow. I don't know what happened, but it's not compelling, right? So I learned that that's not really the best way to emotionally connect with someone. So you really have to hone your prospecting skills and see how you can become more attentive and engaged in the conversation. And then start connecting the dots between what you have to offer and what it can do for that person. So you always want to lead with WIIFT, what's in it for them. And then how people like them were building a business just like ours. So with this approach, the people you talk to are much more present and invested in what you're saying from jump. The conversations are also a lot more efficient and more natural and more interactive. They're actually conversations instead of just monologues, right? Which none of us really want. Your closing rate's going to go way, way, way up. So you guys need to work on doing that same thing. So it starts with a really simple exercise that you want to do before you reach out to someone. So you want to figure out a person's pain points, okay? And then how our business can reduce or eliminate those pain points. And it really is that simple. It takes about 2 minutes of prep work before you talk to somebody, but it's really worth it. So here's how it works. You take a piece of paper, you draw a line down the middle, you make 2 columns. On the left, you write pain. On the right, you write no pain. Think about all the possible pain points in her life and how our business could provide relief from those pain points. Then you'll craft your opening talking points for the conversation. So let's explore what your list could look like for a couple different types of people. Let's say you want to reach out to your friend Jane, who is a stay-at-home mom who used to be a high-powered corporate chick, right? Maybe she's mentioned her pain points to you. She misses grown-up time. Maybe her head's turning to mush. She hates having to ask her husband before she spends the money on herself. Maybe the family finances are really difficult with just one paycheck. She feels like a lost piece of herself when she's at home, when she's not in that career. So those are her pain points that she's already told you, or that you've seen on social media, or that you can maybe anticipate. So that's what you write on the left-hand column under pain. Then on the right, we're going to talk about how coaching could reduce those pain points. It could give her the ability to still be a hands-on mom, like she has been, while also making it possible for her to build something of her very own. It could help her create an extra stream of income that she might need whether it's to pay for kids' activities or her shameless shoe fund or whatever it is. Plus ours is a super fun business that can provide a much needed grown-up social outlet. So that's what it would look like. On the left, Mrs. Making Her Own Money, Mrs. Time with Grown-ups, Mrs. Identity outside of wife and mom. On the right, bring in an income, social collaborative business, can have it all, hands-on mom. Okay, so that's what you do before talking with someone. So how do you take those golden nuggets, turn them into an authentic and compelling conversation when she answers the phone? And we are talking about phone conversations, because that is where you really thrive in this business if you get people on the phone. So something like this. Hey Jane, it's Corey. You've been on my mind a lot lately. Do you have a few minutes for me to pick your brain about something? I need about 5 minutes. Is this a good time? If she says it's not a good time, then you book another time. You say, no problem. Let's work around your schedule. I will give you a shot tonight. Which works better for you, 8 or 9? If neither of those works better, you just give her times. You always give concrete times when you're setting up an appointment. Don't just go, let me know when you have time to talk, because that's never going to happen. So you give like 2 options, and then generally speaking, they'll give you the best of those 2 options. But give it when it's a good time for you. Don't try to work it in, while you're making dinner or whatever. You need to be in that peak state like we've talked about before. But if she says, sure, what's up? Then you're always going to lead with the what's in it for you. I've been thinking about you a lot because I remember us talking about how you love being there for your kids, but you really miss having something of your own for your sanity and your identity and your bank account. Anyway, I thought of you now because I'm working with so many women just like you who are spending part-time hours each week building really lucrative businesses of their own, if I could talk, while they're still being hands-on moms with flexible schedules, and they're able to pay for their kids' activities, fill college and vacation funds, and in some cases even replace income from big old corporate careers just like the one you had. I have no idea if this would be a good fit for you, but it might be a way for you to have your cake and eat it too. Anyway, I'd love to tell you what I'm up to. So do you see how everything in it was about her? None of it was about you or what you're doing. Every single thing in that conversation is about what it could do for her. So if you're Jane and that's your life, and I've pointed out to you what some of your pain is and how I could alleviate it, don't you think that the least you would say is, okay, I'm curious, tell me what you're doing? Probably. Like that's probably the response that you would get. And then from there, you would continue with some short introductory message points about the company and transition into your personal story, and then attributes of your business and, Shakeology or the programs or whatever. And then you would say something like, so Jane, are you intrigued enough to want to learn more and see if this might be a good fit for you? Notice the posture, the language made it clear that I'm not attached to the outcome. So that's key. You cannot be attached to the outcome, and you can't make the person think that you're attached to the outcome, whether or not she says yes or no. You're just sharing and helping her figure out if it's a good fit for her. And I have another one I was going to do, but we're about to run out of time. I have less than a minute left. So let me look at the chat real quick. What's the idea of having? No, I don't think that's cheesy. Am I okay? I'm confused as to what you're asking me. Are you asking me if I'm okay? Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yes, I'm good. I'm still here. No, I don't think it necessarily is. I mean, it would depend on the person, but no, I don't think that's cheesy at all. Growing a team, yes.